If your faucets look like this, it's time for a cleaning. I'll show you how. You wash your dishes with that? Your dishes are not clean. Look at this hard water buildup, all of this calcium. Your faucets can really get bad, especially if you're not cleaning them regularly. So there's an easy method to clean these up. I'm gonna have to work extra hard because this is really bad. Here we go, step one. So I'm gonna start just by doing what I can to scrub as much of the loose hard scale off of here. This is just buildup from hard water, especially if you don't have a water softener or if you just let your sink go for days, months, weeks, years on end. This is buildup over a long time. Sometimes your faucets, your shower heads, your sink attachments need a little cleanup. So I'm just starting with a sponge. You can use a dish brush, something a little bit more abrasive, just to get as much as you can off by hand. I use a little cleaning toothbrush, or you can just use a regular dish brush. This just kind of helps get in those crevices, the nooks and crannies. But you want to start off with first getting as much of this off. And look at this water, it's already flaking off. I'm gonna do the same thing on the shower head. The traditional hack method that you may have seen is to use a zip top bag or plastic bag and keep this attached to your faucet, like your shower head or your sink, and then you put the plastic bag around it. I find that kind of a little difficult to do sometimes. So this is a better deep cleaning method, especially if your faucets are really bad. Just take some simple plumbing tools. You can just remove this, make sure the water is turned off to that faucet. You may get a few drips, but that's okay. But then you can clean this by hand and you're not reaching up to try and clean that faucet. You're not breaking your back. You can just do this simply over a sink or even the bottom bathtub section. But once again, make sure you turn on the right faucet. You don't want that water streaming on you. Now, all the hard work is gonna be done by some white distilled vinegar, not even by hand. Now you can do this in a bowl, but I find it easier, especially if you have kind of an oblong shape. I mean, most shower heads or faucet heads are kind of funky shaped, so they don't really nest very well in a bowl or a container, and then you're gonna be using a lot of vinegar. So for this deep clean, I still recommend use a zip top bag. Now this is the method that you would put over the faucet head if it was still attached to either your sink or your shower. But this way is easier. You'll use a lot of vinegar if you put it in a bowl or a container, and you can't like swoosh it around. So this method is really great. And maybe we'll just do 2 in 1. I know it's 2 metals. I was gonna do each of them in their own, but hey, why not? Save vinegar. This method is a lot easier if you detach your faucet. So most industrial sinks you should be able to detach, and most shower heads should be easy to detach. Just use some pliers, a wrench to separate them. So I like a huge, few gallon jug of vinegar. Let these sit upright, so that way they're making the most contact with the vinegar. There we go. Seal this up, and then I'll lay them down a little bit later. But you can let these hang out for several hours overnight. You wanna give that vinegar a lot of time to break down as much of that calcium. That's why this is good too, because if you rotate it, this is gonna descale inside, the part that you can't clean. It's gonna descale all throughout this. I'm just gonna use the same bowl, put that in there. So what you could do is, over that time span where it's soaking, just let it rotate, get all into the inner workings. Because it's in the bag, you can kind of manipulate it, move it around. Usually you'd only have one faucet head in here, but I'm trying to be efficient, use the same vinegar for both. So let that sit a few hours overnight, and then we'll rinse it off, clean it up, try to get as much of that scale off as we can. Should be good as new. And 24 hours later, let's check out our results. These are already looking great. Now I would suggest, I sprung a little leak in my bag, so just don't let this sit on the counter. I would put it in a bowl or a container, so just in case it does leak from your bag. I'm just gonna dump this out, get rid of this bag. Faucet head 1, faucet head 2, and already no scrubbing, no nothing. A lot of it's just flaked off and been left in the bowl. So many bits, ooh. Now, depending on the finish, if you have all metal finish and all metal pieces on your faucet heads, when you do this, you should be fine. If you have like a coating on them or if they're colored, you may wanna dilute that vinegar and just cover the part that's in the scale buildup with the vinegar solution. Vinegar can be harsh on some components, especially like gaskets. So if you have rubber gaskets that are removable, I would take those off. You don't need to be super concerned, just something something to look out for. But look at that. I mean, night and day difference. And remember, vinegar has different strengths. Usually it comes in 3%. This is a 6% extra strength for cleaning and a lot of household needs. So you may want to dilute it depending. And the dilution will still be as effective on that scale to get all that hard water buildup off. But if you have a really extreme case, I just kind of do a few glugs of just the vinegar, no dilution. You may want to dilute it less or more depending on what you're using. So you can brush off some of that additional scale just with your cleaning toothbrush or a sponge, whatever you have that you're using to clean, but that was pretty good. And what's nice is since this sat in that solution for a few hours, any of that built up gunk that could be reducing the pressure, that'll get cleaned out from the insides. So you wanna be careful. Once you reattach this all, you know, give it a few sprays, get it rinsed out, and then you're good to use it just like normal. But I didn't even have to do anything, and that just, look, took care of it all. Now, another thing I've seen that you can do, you can use a toothpick. If you just see some scale still built up in there, you can use a toothpick. Carefully, you don't wanna break off the wood pieces in any of the holes, but sometimes you can just carefully use a toothpick to poke out any remaining scale. But this looks great. Just rinse it off, a little bit of light scrubbing to get rid of the excess scale, and you're good to go. Ooh, a lot flaked off just by doing that. Nice and clean and shiny. Gross. Look at all that floaty business. That's what we wanted to get rid of. If you have removed your faucet heads to do this and you're gonna reattach them, especially for showers, you're just gonna want to pick up some plumbing tape, wrap that around the threads, and then reattach that. Detaching and reattaching shower heads is actually really, really easy. A lot of people maybe think, oh, I need to call a plumber, I need a professional to do this. You can replace your shower head super easy. I probably should do a video on that sometime. So don't be intimidated. Detaching and reattaching faucet heads, especially showers, is pretty easy and pretty universal. There's just some threads up there. You just might need a wrench or pliers to detach it. And a trick you can use if you don't want to scratch the finish, just put a towel in between the wrench and the metal, and that'll give you some grip, but also protect the wrench from scratching the faucet too much. Then when you reattach, just reapply some plumbing tape. But it's an approachable project just about anybody can do. Now, in extreme cases, you're gonna wanna do this deep clean if there's a lot of buildup on your faucet heads, but regular maintenance is gonna prevent you from ever needing to do a deep clean. So I just make a solution of white distilled vinegar, a little water, and once a week, just go ahead and spray that on your faucet heads, give it a few minutes, wipe it down, and that way routinely you're descaling, routinely you're cleaning. That'll prevent severe buildups in the future. So that's what you wanna do. The second you notice that scaling, that white crustiness on your faucets, whether it be your tub, your shower, your sinks, just go ahead and spray it down, take care of it right away, because the buildup will be harder and harder to clean. What you can do is just have a spray bottle of vinegar, especially if you have a glass shower. When you get out of the shower, you can just spray down with your vinegar dilution, and then that'll keep hard water and water spots from building up. Just spray it on, let it sit. The next time you take a shower, you can just rinse it off. It takes care of itself basically, but it's a post-shower rinse that you can do routinely. If you're somebody who forgets to clean, just leave this out, leave it out in the corner of your shower, and that'll be a visual reminder to pick it up, spray it around your shower, descale it, and you're good to go. All right, just getting this reattached. There we go, back in business.